Look, I'm just an analyst, but in my opinion, the Nuggets should try the shoot 60% from the field play more often. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for making this your first listen every day. We appreciate it. We're free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can join the show and join all sorts of folks that are hopping in the chat here on a Saturday night late to recap in celebration of the Nuggets' absolute destruction of the San Antonio Spurs 126-101. We'll dive into all the details from that game. My takeaways from that, the good, the bad, there's very little of the bad, as well as just some general takeaways and a quick recap here from a feel-good Denver win. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game more. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, and I'm solo tonight. Adam Mares has wrapped up things. I'm sure is still having a wonderful time at the DMVR bar after it was DMVR bars. They did the whole bus thing and they took a trip to the arena and everyone had tickets and they were there. And I saw Adam and I glared at him and he was like, "Why are you giving me a glare?" And I walked by him because fuck that guy. Just kidding. Let's see. Justin Pie Money says, "What's up, Matt? Enjoyable game for you?" Every game is enjoyable for me, Justin. I get to watch NBA basketball for free. And even when it's bad, it's still better than working for a living. That's the answer to that. But tonight was really fun. All right, so I'll start here. The San Antonio Spurs are not as bad as they look tonight. They were bad. Third game in 4 nights, back-to-back. The dreaded 3rd and 4th Sega Baba. And that's always a tough spot. It's worse when you're in altitude. Joker specifically mentioned being in altitude for that team. They were clearly pretty gassed. That said, Denver hasn't, we talked about this after the Utah game, and we talked about this after the home Thunder game, and we've talked about it a few times. And this is another example of a game where Denver has a capacity to really cook these teams if the opponent does not give them their best effort, or if the opponent isn't hitting shots. You got to do both versus Denver. You're going to have to hit shots, and you're going to have to have great effort, because if one or the other isn't working, Denver is going to catch you, and there's a chance that Denver can get separation from you if they have a talent advantage. And Denver had a huge talent advantage in this game. Just an absolutely phenomenal performance, start to finish offensively. So the Nuggets finished this game. At one point in this game, they were scoring 1.45 points per possession. Okay, so that's like a number. All right, and that what are numbers really? Here's the way to think of, I always like try and, these are the numbers that matter to me. And the reason is, it's like, look, every single time that you get down the floor, you're scoring almost 1.5 points. 1.5 points for every trip down the court. Like, the ideal scenario is that you score 3 points for every time down the court, or 4 points with a 4-point play. Those are obviously never going to happen. Good historically in the NBA is 1 point per possession. The Nuggets were scoring 1.45. They were almost at 1.5 points per possession on these things. Okay, so those are, again, numbers, nerd talk, whatever. Get out of here, nerd. It was an absolute demolition. And it was a demolition in so many ways. It wasn't one element that got them going. Michael Porter Jr. sprinting out in transition and hitting pull-up threes. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope causing mayhem with 4 steals, 2 blocks, and then getting down to the other end. Aaron Gordon finishing inside on cuts and layups. Joker doing what Joker does in every facet of the game. The Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic 2-man game has looked the best tonight that it has since Jamal's injury. We haven't seen it look this good. It was pick and roll. It was pick and roll to a DHO, back into a pick and roll, into a post up, flex cut, slip. It was insane. And Jamal knew it, and Jamal sensed it, and Jamal was absolutely whipping passes. And Jokic, obviously the one that Joker had, the touch pass underneath. We'll talk about Bones in the second segment, because there's a lot to get to with the bench there, and just Bones in particular. But the Nuggets absolutely torched this team. Nikola Jokic was 9 of 10 from the field. MPJ was 6 of 10 from the field, including 3 of 6 from 3, shot 50% from 3 again. Jamal Murray was 6 of 10 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3-point range. Like, everybody had it going. KCP was 2 of 3. The starters absolutely tore them to shreds. It was a reckoning. It's crazy because, like, again, we'll talk a lot about Bones, but I'm just, I don't know what else to say here, guys. Like, I don't know the Bones actually mattered that much. Like, Bones had a bunch of really cool plays, okay? But, like, Michael Porter Jr. was plus 27 in this game. It was over. It was over by the time that Bones did his thing. Aaron Gordon was plus 15 in 22 minutes. Joker was plus 20 in 26 minutes. The starters eradicated that team. And it was honestly pretty impressive because when Jakob Poeltl scored, I think like 6 points in the first 5 possessions, I was like, oh boy, this could be a night because it doesn't look like Joker's locked in. And then they got downhill and it was unstoppable. They were unstoppable. All the stuff that we've talked about with this team, we talked about in preseason. Like, I came out and said, I think this team has a shot to be the best offense of all time. You saw that capacity tonight. They went from being, I believe, the 7th or 8th best team offensively in non-garbage time at cleaning the glass to 5th tonight off of last night's performance alone. Like, they just jumped up there. Jamal, I asked Joker, we tried to get like a sense from Joker after the game about Jamal, and he wasn't biting. Just wasn't biting. We'll talk about Joker in the third segment. Because we're basically trying to ask him, like, hey, look, you said he was going to suck for 2 months. You know, what do you think about this? And he was still kind of like, look, he's still going to have bad games. That's okay. Like, he's trying to lower the bar as much as humanly possible. I will tell you that I think in my estimation, Jamal Murray is ahead of where I thought he would be. Now, that doesn't mean that he stays here. It doesn't mean that he won't, like, again, I always say this, age and injury sap your consistency. It's really hard to be consistent night after night, right? Like, Jamal will probably hurt tomorrow more than he would have 2 years ago, right? And they have a game on Monday versus the same Spurs team in San Antonio. Good point from Carl here. The bench mattered and that didn't give up the lead. We'll talk about that in the second segment. That's really important because it ties into what I kind of said from the start. It's helped by the rotations. It's helped by Bones. Like, there's all these kind of things. Chork says it looks like they had fun. The team had a blast tonight. Like, that team really did. It is rare that I see an NBA team take real pleasure in how easy they can make it look because the NBA is typically very hard. It was easy for the Nuggets tonight. And I'll just say this, like, the Spurs are not the Rockets, who I think are the worst team in the league. They're just not. This Spurs team beat the Clippers. The Spurs team beat the Wolves twice. Like, the Spurs team has been decent. Again, bad spot for San Antonio. But the way this team moves together, the way it clicks together, the veterans on this team that Michael Malone has mentioned, and he mentioned it again tonight, there is an awareness here of just like, these guys are NBA quality players that have been in the league and have seen things and know how to do this. And it shows. Like, Bruce Brown, even on a night where Bruce wasn't great shooting the ball, KCP was phenomenal tonight. Like, KCP had reads that were just terrific defensively, but also just how many mistakes have we seen from KCP this season offensively? Maybe if I dug in deep, I could find 5. Maybe. Doesn't make mistakes. Knows what he needs to do. And MPJ, honestly, this has been the hilarious thing. MPJ's fascinating because MPJ's still mistake prone, and it doesn't matter because the man just absolutely hits everything. The shooting is ridiculous. The guy said the other day that he wants to shoot 55% from 3, and I can't tell him he's crazy. Like, I can't tell him he's crazy. So, this team put it all together in this game, and it was an absolutely dominant performance. And it's one to appreciate, right? I am asking you, the fan base of the Denver Nuggets, I am asking you to appreciate this game and the games like this season, because you need to think back to how miserable everyone was last year, even when they won. And like, I tried desperately to pull that out of them tonight. I asked them, I asked Malone post game. I asked Joker post game. I'm trying to get to a place where they can at least talk about how hard last year was. They don't want to do it for a number of reasons, because you don't want to say like it's easy when you have this many games in front of you. And you don't want to say it's easy compared to last year because it makes the guys last year look bad. It's just that this is what good teams should look like a fair amount of the time. Not every night. You will have nights when you struggle with the bad teams. But Denver has had more impressive performances where they just handled the opponent than I think they did all of last year. That's more than it felt like last year. Taylor Klein's in here says, I had so much fun watching this game. That's a lot of it. Is like the fan base just felt exhausted and annoyed last year. The players felt exhausted and annoyed. The coaches were exhausted and annoyed. The media, which we should never be, was exhausted and annoyed last year. And there's a real tangible enjoyment to watching how the Nuggets are playing right now. We'll take a break. We'll come back. I'll talk about Bones and my curmudgeonly feelings on him, as well as the ridiculousness that he unleashed tonight when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, I got to tell you about BetOnline, the number one source for football betting and the start of the new basketball season this season. I did bet the Spurs, and I live bet them plus 14.5, and neither one of them bet cash. Now, I bet them very small, very tiny bets. Just because I was like, well, okay, look, and the Nuggets have been undefeated, and this is like a weird spot for Denver, and Pirtle's been pretty good, and Trey Jones should eat them up and pick and roll. Did not happen. So lost some money on that, but in general, I still had a plus night. Have done really well. I had the Kings today, who came back in overtime, Kangs, so that was fun. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game at BetOnline, the fast and easiest way to check out all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for making Locked On Nuggets your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Okay. Taylor Klein says, is it that far to think about Bones for six man? Gonna have to get the numbers up. I actually bet him. I thought that he has a pretty good chance, so we'll see what happens. All right, so here's the thing, Bones. Michael Malone compared him to Allen Iverson before the game. That was wild, because Malone was comparing him in the sense that Iverson was in Summer League, and the head coach was like telling the Summer League coach, like, hey, you got to tell him he's got to get his teammates involved, because Iverson was just shooting. And Iverson said in response, you obviously didn't watch me in college. And so like Malone's like, I did watch Bones in college. This is who he is. This is the type of player that he is. So Bones put on a show tonight, and Bones is great at home. Like, Bones is just phenomenal. The energy that he creates in the building, like, he is a guy that people will talk about seeing. And that's awesome, right? Like, for as much as the things that I care about and I talk about, right? Like Bruce Brown, right? You're not going to be like, oh yeah, I was at that game when Bruce Brown had 5 deflections and 6 really smart plays, right? But you will be like, yeah, I was at that game where Bones had like the wraparound whatever and like literally dribbled 3 times in a circle in front of a guy. Like, Bones did a complete 360 in front of a guy tonight, dribbling. I mean, there's an old Simpsons episode where Krusty the Clown bet on the Washington Generals against the Globetrotters, and he's screaming, he's spinning the ball in front of you, just grab it. That's how I felt watching the Spurs tonight, where I'm like, guys, what are you doing? And the Spurs clearly were kind of like, look, it's 3rd and 4, they're at home, this is, this roster's not built to win. Okay, like, genuinely, I was like, if they were facing another team, somebody was gonna put Bones on the floor with a foul. And Bones mentioned afterwards where he comes from. He's like, I'm not worried about that. And he's like, I've seen tougher stuff. It's not. I'm not going to worry about that. It's just basketball, and that's fair. He did wild stuff tonight. He was in his bag so deep. Singer had a great line on it, which was, Like, he was fries at the bottom of the bag in his bag. Like, that's how in his bag he was. It was wild. He tried stuff. And honestly, what was funny is Jamal got kind of started on it. Like, I don't blame Bones because Jamal was doing the same stuff. By the third quarter, end of third quarter, Jamal was like trying things. Was like, can I pull this off? It was like actively in the lab working on things. Bones he made so many audacious plays. They asked him what his favorite play. Singer asked him what his favorite play was, and it was the one where he faked it twice and then dished to Bruce Brown underneath the basket. And he said, "Why do you?" Singer said, usually he's like, I would figure it'd be a shot that you like. And Bones said, "No, my favorite plays are assists because then you make two people happy." And we all like cackled because like that's a Joker saying. And somebody mentioned that to him. He's like, "I swear I've never heard that." We asked Joker about it later. He's like, "Yeah, he's lying." And Joker said, "No, I'm kidding," but kind of don't know if he was. Taylor asked if Jamal feels Bones coming for the starting job. No, just no. That's not a thing at all in any way, shape, or form. I mean, but Bones was crazy and wild. I just really got to stress how much the game was over at this point. Like, the game was completely over. Now, the point earlier about how the bench didn't bleed is relevant, right? So last year they had the worst bench I've ever seen. They had the worst bench I have never seen a bench that bad. Ever. It was so miserable. Couldn't do anything. And the goal this year was really honestly for them not to have the worst bench in the league. Like, that was the objective, I think, from a team building standpoint. Because the starters are going to be so good that you really don't have to be awesome. You just got to be not terrible. After tonight, the Denver Nuggets still have, by the way, based off of NBA.com's evaluations, the fourth worst bench in the league. So, long way to go in terms of the net rating. And most of those are because of various games where they got nuked. Their ability to just handle these leads, and when they make leads bigger, you're not going to dig back in. Like, I don't know how you're not going to, it's very rare that you're going to come back. You can say like the Thunder game, right? Where the starters struggled and the Thunder kind of got back into it. In general, though, the starters are going to win their minutes. Like, the starters are going to win, on average, 3 of the 4 stints. So as long as the bench doesn't give up a double-digit run, they're going to be fine. And it results, if you hit them with 2 runs of positive, like Bones helped them do tonight, and like Jeff Green like dunked with enthusiasm, hit some shots. Like I said, Bruce Brown didn't have a great night tonight, and that's totally okay because he's been so good. DJ was 5 of 6 for 10 points and a +5, right? Bruce Brown was still a +17 because the actual bench units like energy was pretty good. Jeff Green was 4 of 8. Like, look at all these guys on this run. Like, so many guys shot better than 50% from the field. It's wild. And when you do that, there's just almost no chance of coming back on Denver because the starters are so good. And you get nice tonight. Like, we are several games in, and there have been multiple games where Joker has played less than 30 minutes, which was incomprehensible last season. Like, the only time Joker played less than 30 minutes last season was when the Nuggets got blown out. So it was wild. Being in the arena, if you haven't been to a game, being in the arena for a Bones moment really is something. Because when he starts to hit, like, the entire arena senses it. Like, he hits one shot or he makes a couple of plays, and the buzz really starts. Like, there just starts to be a super big buzz. And like, people are more excited for every shot that he takes, and they want him to try and do more and more and more and more. And he really feeds off the crowd. And I think it's honestly good for that bench unit that has a lot of veterans, like it's Jeff Green and DeAndre Jordan. And I think it's good for those guys too, because it gets them going a little bit for guys that have seen a lot of minutes and a lot of possessions and a lot of losses. So they've really, like, Bones does a lot. And Bones was, he's a player that, like, Malone is very much prided himself on allowing to be himself. For me, I think the important thing is always to understand, like, Bones, I'll actually credit Bones with this. Bones will try and make plays to energize, but Bones doesn't do stuff like he did tonight, like, randomly. He doesn't do it if the game is tight. If it's a 6-point game, Bones doesn't come in and try and throw behind the back full court passes. He doesn't come in and try like a 4 fake. He doesn't come in and try and shoot. He'll shoot from distance for sure, and that's okay. That's makeable shots for him. But he doesn't try and he really did. He tried to embarrass the Spurs tonight. I can't get any. I don't know where else to get to. He tried to embarrass the Spurs. The whole team was trying to. It was a ruthless demolition of San Antonio. Somebody mentioned that Monday is going to be tougher. Yeah, I would expect this, right? So San Antonio gets the revenge spot on Monday. Denver just comes off this insane shooting performance because Denver did shoot the lights out. It was high quality looks, but Denver shot the lights out. Bear in mind, this is what's crazy is it's not like I think the Nuggets play good defense tonight. The Spurs shot 49% and 40% from 3. The Spurs hit 12 threes and 40% on their 3-point attempts, and they lost by 25 points. A wild offensive performance. San Antonio, ended up with a 103 offensive rating, which isn't very good. Denver's numbers look good on this, mostly I think because of garbage time. First quarter, they looked awesome. But again, Denver, multiple of their players have a 145 or better offensive rating. Just absolute insanity. Bones ends up with a 113, which is about right considering the bench. That's crazy for a bench unit. Joe says, sadly, we won't be able to afford Bones in the future. It's true, but you got to worry about that when the time comes. You got to worry about that then. David Walker says, the bench is just so desperate for usage. For having a guy like Bones who can hit 30 usage is massive. I kind of agree, right? And having a guy that can do it. I will also say this, though. We again see the MPJ stagger work effectively. We again see that getting some minutes with Jamal in the second unit works effectively. If you're going to complain, as so many Nuggets fans do, about Malone's rotations and the lack of a stagger, you need to note when he finds a groove. And he's really figured out some stuff, I think, with this team. Honestly, the only bummer tonight was that Jeff Green had to play more minutes than he should have because Ignaji is hurt, so they didn't have backup power forward to put in. That's it. Just again, a feel-good, comfortable coast of a win. David Walker does show credit for Malone. Been so good with rotations this year. So let's take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk about Joker for a little bit. Just to wrap up some things and give my general impressions on where Joker's at right now. We'll do that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys joining me on a Sunday. We'll be back with our normal rotation of episodes on Monday morning. Usual show between 9:30 and 10. We start somewhere in that range. Monday through Friday. That's our preferred schedule. Nuggets play Monday. I'm expecting to record with Adam on Monday morning. We'll see if that's the case. Sometimes he likes to do the night shows on Sunday. We'll let you know if that's the case. Make sure that you're checking out Locked On Sports Today. Great podcast. Check it out wherever you get podcasts. What's up about Joker? So a lot of conversation about Joker the last couple of days, and Blackburn and I basically had a 35-minute Play-Doh dialogues conversation pregame about Joker and where he's at. Joker tonight, 9 of 10, 21 points, 10 assists, 6 boards, 2 steals, plus 20. He had 21 points on 10 shots. Pretty efficient for Joker. Obviously, he had the whip pass underneath the MPJ, and he had the between the legs pass, which Harrison Wind turned around and said he had never done that. I don't actively remember it behind. I feel like there was one, but I can't remember it behind the back pass. After post game, really subdued. Just really subdued. I tried to ask him about games like this being easier, and he was just like, "Well, you should know now how the next one's gonna go." And tried to be like, "What's it like watching Bones when you're on the bench and everybody's feeling it like this?" And he's like, "It's good. We play good." I'll just go ahead and say it. Like, if it's Joker is not this way with us, then that's fine. I don't pretend that the 7 minutes that I get with Nikola Jokic in a group of people at a press conference is an indication of where he's at. The mood's not great. Results are awesome, right? So it doesn't really matter. We talked a little bit about the board thing the other day. My only question I think for Joker is whether or not there's a part of the season that he will find some joy in. Because it's a bummer to see the team play this well and just be, and the whole tone was very much like, yeah, no, we played well, played great. We'll see what happens on Monday. Right? This is the flip side of the NBA. Every time a team gets the doors blown off of it, the answer is always, the best thing about the NBA is that there's another game in 2 days, right? There's always another game. The problem is that there's an inverse of that, which is that you don't ever get to really celebrate a win. Because in 2 days, they got to go to San Antonio and face the same team. That's probably going to be pretty pissed off and got embarrassed. So I think I'll say this, like, there's been questions about the effort. I will continue to scream as loud as I can that I think that adjusting the defensive scheme, and honestly, I think we saw that tonight. Like, I'll have to go back and watch, but I will tell you that they played more at the level than I have seen them play this season. And the level of activity defensively was higher. They got killed early because they gave up buckets because they weren't used to making those rotations and getting used to it. But they got better as this game went on defensively. And I don't think that that's a coincidence. And I don't think that's all just the Spurs exhaustion. I think that was a lot of it. 27 points for the Spurs in the first quarter, 24 in the second, 25 in the third, 25 in the fourth. So after that first quarter, they don't allow more than 27 points, and they held them to a 103 defensive rating. Again, a lot of that was garbage time. But, like, I'll just say I think that that effort level has improved. I think Joker was really locked in the OKC game. I thought he was emphatic. I thought he was purposeful. I thought he was surgical. In this game, he really did, like, he was genuinely, like, they were trying stuff. It was really fun. Like, it was a throwback to those early 2019, 2018 years where Joker was, like, experimenting and finding the stuff that he could do that nobody expected from him. He caught a lot of folks completely off guard with in the Spurs. Like, he just caught the team completely. There were defenders underneath on that pass to MPJ, the laser pass, and they were just like, what? Like, they're like, wait, why is the ball here? And it's a bucket. Like, it's absolutely incredible. Sean says, Jokic often plays like this when he doesn't feel like he has to score, when he knows the other guys have it going. I want to be clear on this. So, like, my discussion is about where Joker is at from a playing emotional management standpoint, right? Not from an execution or effectiveness, because I think Joker's been fine. I expected there to be a lot of nights where he scores like he did in the OKC game, 15, 15, 10. Like, I expect that. Like, tonight, I think, is a very emblematic. Like, tonight's the goal for Denver. Like, you cannot really ask for much more for Denver. Like, this is exactly what they want. You know, for in the regular season, for you to have nights where Joker only has to play 26 minutes, he still finishes with 21 points and 10 assists. That's perfect. That's absolute perfection. That is the model for what you want. I don't even know that he turns down shots. Like Dave Walker kind of said this. I don't know that he is. I think you can turn down shots too much when there isn't a better option available. This was a problem for him when he was younger, is that he would turn down opportunities for tough shots because he was looking for a higher percentage shot that, because it was from less talented personnel, meant it was a lower percentage shot than him shooting. I don't feel like that this year, because when the Nuggets run their stuff, they're putting so much pressure on these defenses that if they keep working, they're going to wind up with a high quality shot. no matter what. Like they're going to wind up with a high percentage look that should go in more often than not, and may honestly be worth more points per possession than a Joker tough floater, as good as he is at those things. So again, I just think that he's like, this is a, like, Joker's just as good, I think, offensively as he's ever been. It's just a matter of he's perfectly happy and comfortable with this role of getting other guys involved and getting his a little bit. And I'll also say this, like, this is what you want. All those other teams, and this was Denver fans last year, when everyone was screaming, get Joker some help for the love of God, right? When Luka is like putting up 37 and playing 35 minutes, 40 minutes and losing, and people were like, can somebody get, this is the opposite of that, right? This is like when Steph Curry has a lot of nights when he has 25, right? Except that Joker passes more. When it's like Curry has 28, it's like a good night, 28. 28 and 6 for Steph. Good night. Hit a bunch of threes. This is that for Joker. And that doesn't have to play that much, racks up points and assists, and absolutely is able to get through these type of things. This is a way better formula, and this keeps him fresher, and this will help him. The reason I kind of bring up the post-game stuff is just to say, it's just kind of a commentary. I don't think it, because, and honestly, here's part of it, a credit to him. 4 years ago, if he's as bored as he is now, he's not playing well. But Joker's like knows the deal. Like he gets it. He goes to work, does his job. Sean says this is the outcome of get this man from help. Yep. Like they got MPJ and Jamal back. They got him KCP and Bruce Brown and an improved bench. And that's where this comes from. Josh Buckberg says, it is time for Conley Gobert slander. One, Tim Conley never wanted to leave Denver, so I'm never going to be part of the Tim Conley slander group, just so you know. Like, Tim Conley did not want to leave Denver, actively did not want to go. This was not he left in the middle of the night. This was, he genuinely did not want to go. Second, I'll tell you, Minnesota is going to be fine. I continue to be like this. I am arguing with friends about this in group chats a lot. I just think they have to figure out a lot of stuff. This is not easy to figure out. Like adjusting to two bigs, everyone's like, but it doesn't work. It's like, it doesn't work now because you got to figure out how to make it work. And when they do, I think they'll probably be better. David asked about Joker. When has he been more upbeat with the media? Genuine question. 2019, 2020 and 2021. Last year, he was exhausted and frustrated and just like, this is life. But those other years, yeah, he kind of got through the annoyance. In the beginning, he was annoyed with doing media, and then he kind of got through it and was like, I gotta do it. Might as well have fun. So I would tell you that in my experience, Joker is not always unhappy doing media. And I don't think he was even unhappy. I don't think I've done this enough. I know when guys don't want to talk. I don't get that sense. I think Joker, media is part of the entire thing right now where it's like same thing every day, 82 games. Same thing all the time. Another game on Tuesday, right? Or Monday. So that's kind of my read on that. What else we got? Another great night for the crowd. I thought Ball Arena was again very good. This just continues to be the best Ball Arena crowd, Ball/Pepsi, that I've seen in 10 years. This is the best year so far in terms of not just the noise level of being loud, but being positive and engaged. Like there's very little frustration I hear in the crowd. There's a lot of encouragement. There's a lot of like people had so much fun tonight, and that makes a lot of sense, right? Because they killed them and Bones basically like took them to Rucker. But also, I really feel like the fan base, at least in the arena, is in a really good spot. And I feel like the Thunder in this game have helped with the leftover angst from the Lakers game, where it does feel like, okay, fine, they're going to be really good. Because there was a lot of concern after the Lakers game of, why aren't they better? How could they lose to the Lakers? And like, they're going to be like, this team is going to, again, a lot of stuff that can happen, and that's where that team. I will say that is the Nuggets are not counting any chickens. There's no post-game selfies going on with Denver. It is business as usual. Like, there is very much always a continual, like, yeah, no, this is good. We'll see what happens. That's Malone, that's Joker, that's everybody. Like, everybody is like, yeah, no, this is like, we were pretty good tonight. We'll see. Nobody's counting chickens. Nobody's taking victory laps. And that could be a good thing. I do think at some point you got to start to feel yourself a little bit in terms of how good you are. You got to get into the vibe of being like, we're really good. But there's time for that. I think there's time for that. I think that there's time for that in January and December, and maybe January and February, right? Then you rest through the All-Star break. Sean says the team is so mature, it feels like so many vets when the younger guys are vets at some point. Yeah. Vets at this point. That's true. The maturity on this team is higher than it's been since the rebuild. This is the highest level of maturity I've seen, and it shows at pretty much every single level. So, all right, let's go wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I really appreciate that y'all jumping in the chat on a Saturday night. If you're listening to this on Sunday, enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the start for your week. We'll be back with you on Monday morning. Adam and I will catch up on his thoughts on this game, as well as get into a preview of the second one. And we'll cover all things that are going on in the league, because hopefully there's actually some good news out of the NBA as opposed to the nonsense over the last week. Glad everyone enjoyed the win. Have yourselves a great weekend. We'll see you guys again.